Hey loves, welcome back to another tutorial. So today's video we're going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful puffy sleeve as you can see on this dress. If you've not seen the tutorial of this gown, I'll link it down on the description box so you can go and watch it. So without further ado, let's jump right into this video. So here I have my basic sleeve pattern with me, and this is the short sleeve because the puffy sleeve we are making is going to be the short one. So make sure that your pattern is unfold because we are going to open it up. So now that I've opened it up, I am going to draw a line on it as you can see, because this is going to be a slash and spread method. So I'm just using my eye to gauge this. I'm just drawing a line, and once I'm done with the line, I'm just going to go ahead and label it 1 2 3 to wherever it gets, just so we don't get to mix it up. So once I'm done with that, the next step is to go ahead and cut it up. So I'm just going to slash through the lines as you see me do. So once I'm done, I'm going to get the fabric I will use for the sleeve, and this is the fabric I'm going to use for the sleeve. So I'm just going to spread it wide as you can see, and then I'm going to place the numbers on it. So just follow what I'm doing. Remember, we number this so that it will be very easy for us to get. So I'm just going to place it number by number. I just placed number 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my pin to pin it just so it doesn't move. And once I've pinned the number 1, I'm going to give a gap of 2 inches. That's what I normally use for my slash and spread. So I'm going to give a gap of 2 inches, and then I'll place the second number on it after the 2 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and pin it as well. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm using a 2 inches gap on all of them, and so that's what I'm just going to do. So I continued pinning. I pinned my number 3, and I'm now in number 4. So but along the line I realized that I just couldn't continue pinning because it was kind of wasting my time. But I would advise you to pin yours honestly, so that it just doesn't move. So as you can see, I am done arranging it together, and I left a little allowance on the bottom. You can leave like half or 1 inch allowance for the hemming. So now I'm going to create a curve just the way you see me doing, and I'm going to connect it all the way to the other end of the sleeve. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to come to the center of the sleeve. This is optional. I want to add more volume to my sleeve, so I'm going to add 3 inches extra at the center, and then I'm going to connect it all the way to the sleeve just the way you see me doing. This is something I normally do to make it more puffy. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. So once I was done, this is what we have. I also went ahead to cut the second sleeve, and now we have our both sleeves ready. So the next step now is to hem the base of this sleeve so that we'll be able to pass our elastic through like we normally do in our puffy sleeve. And I'm also going to make a stretch stitch here. Just follow what I'm doing, you understand it better. So here I'm hemming the base of my sleeve as you can see. So I'm just going to make a stretch stitch. So once I'm done with that, I'm not going to add our elastic immediately. I'm going to make a stretch stitch like I said earlier. So before making this stretch stitch, you are not going to start from the beginning, because if you start from the beginning, you're not going to see the space to pass your elastic. So this hemming space now I think is about 1/2 inch. I'll just start under that hemming line, just where my finger is now, and then I'm going to make a stretch stitch and stop there. So that is exactly what I'm doing now. Please don't start on that hemming space so that you'll be able to pass your elastic later. I hope I'm clear, guys. If you have any questions, you can just comment down below and I'm going to answer you. As you can see, this is how it looks. I started under my hemming space so that we'll be able to pass our elastic. So after making the stretch stitch, I'm going to flip it over to the right side, just the way you see me doing. I've also done the same for the other sleeve as well. So now the next step is to go ahead and attach this sleeve to the upper part of this dress, which is the top part. So now I'll head over to the armhole. As you can see, if you want your armhole to be deeper at this point, you can cut it more deeper. So I'm going to get my sleeve, and then I'm going to find the midpoint where we made a stitch down, just like you see me doing. I'm going to pin it together, right sides facing each other. So I'll go ahead and get my pin and pin it together. make sure that the midpoint of the sleeve and the midpoint of the armhole is meeting together. So I'm going to make a stitch, and just like we did before, I'm not going to start from the beginning to make the stitch. I'm going to leave about ½ inch gap because we are still going to pass our elastic there, if you understand what I mean. So I'm going to leave about ½ inch or 1 inch gap, and then I'm going to sew. I'm also going to do the same thing on this side. I'm not going to sew all the way to the end. I'm going to stop about ½ inch away or 1 inch. So yeah, I'll head over to my sewing machine now, and I'm going to make a stitch. So now I'm proceeding to the other sleeve to repeat the exact same thing we did. Before you follow this method of sewing, make sure that your top is already shaped, like you've already shaped it with your measurements, and you've taken the necessary allowances, and you've sewn in everything that you need to sew. Because while attaching this thing, you don't need to like shape any other thing again. So just make sure that your top is already ready, like to wear, before you attach this sleeve. So I repeated the same process as the other sleeve. I found the midpoint of the sleeve and the midpoint of my armhole, and I attached it right side facing each other. I'm using my pin now to pin it together, and then I'll head over to my sewing machine to secure it. So guys, please always remember that we are not going to start from the beginning to sew. We are going to leave about ½ inch or 1 inch for our elastic, because we are still going to pipe this with a bias. The sleeve, we are still going to pipe it with a bias, so that's the space that we are leaving to be able to pass our elastic there. So yeah, here I'm already done with joining the sleeve to the top, and I've not passed my elastic, and this is how it looks. So yeah, I joined it from one armhole to the other. That is the guide you are going to use, because the sleeve is just there, like there is no guideline. So the only thing that is going to guide you is the armhole. Wherever the armhole stops is where you are going to stop, and remember the space that we left, about ½ inch or 1 inch. So now I'm going to get my bias tape. I'm using my fabric as the bias. I cut out a small piece. You can use a bias tape if that's what you have, but I prefer to use my fabric as my bias. So now I'll head over to my sewing machine and pipe the tip of this sleeve. We cannot hem it like we did to the other one, because this is like a circular shape. It is only a bias tape that can, get the shape that you want. So I'll also do the same thing to the other side. I'll go over to my sewing machine and hem it with the bias tape. So here I was done piping. I hope you guys understand how I did this. I just used my bias tape to pipe it like we normally do on our neckline and all that. So the next step now is to get our elastic and pass it all through the both sleeves. And then after that, we are going to close it up. So here I have my elastic, and this is the elastic I'm using, as you can see. So I'll just go ahead and put my safety pin at the tip so that we don't lose it on the way. And then I'm going to pass it all through the tip of the sleeve, just like you see me doing. So once I'm done, I'm going to use my pin and pin it together. Then I'll proceed to adjust this to my preference. So here I'm trying to make sure that it is not too tight or too loose. This is the part where you fix it to your preference. So once I'm done, I'm going to use my pin to hold it as well, and then I'll proceed to the bottom part of this sleeve to pass my elastic as well. So I'll use my safety pin and pass my elastic all through, just the way you see me doing. So here I was done with the elastic. I've passed it through both the upper and the lower parts of this sleeve, and this is what it looks like. The next step now for us is to go ahead and close up all the closables, see if that's correct. So all the openings that we have earlier, this is the parts where we are going to close them together. So here, as you can see, the opening that we left earlier when we were sewing, it is now that we are going to close it together. So I'm going to go ahead and join this thing together and pin. Then I'm going to go to my sewing machine and secure it. And then coming to the lower parts, the parts that we left for our elastic passing, we've passed our elastic now. So we are going to go ahead and close it up now. So for the other part of the sleeve is going to be the same thing as well. Right sides facing each other, I'm going to get the tip of the armhole opening, and then I'm going to join it with the sleeve just the way you see me doing, and then we are going to make a stitch around it. So now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and secure this together. So guys, as you can see, we are done joining everything together and our puffy sleeve is ready. This is how it looks. If you are finding anything difficult, please comment down below and I am going to respond. So we are coming to the end of this tutorial, and if you've not subscribed to our channel, please kindly subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. See you guys in my next video. Bye.